Troy was furious, but he dared not hit back. His hand was broken by John, this madman. He didn't want to provoke some crazy guy. Jerome frowned. He didn't think that the husband he had found for Elise was really cracked in the head, and dared to hit Troy right in front of him.
I haven't settled the previous matter with you.
Jerome narrowed his eyes, like he was looking down from above. But in that moment when he looked into John's eyes, he felt like he had fallen thousands of feet into a deep ravine. His legs couldn't help but tremble a little. It was as if he was looking at a terrifying beast waiting to pounce him any moment.
Settling with me?
John continued calmly.
Looks like you guys aren't here to ask Elise back to the company. You are here to make a scene.
Jerome immediately calmed himself down after hearing this and suppressed the anger in his heart. He wasn't going to disrupt what he had to do because of a crazy man. After they got this contract signed, he'd take care of these people.
Elise. Dawson Group needs you. Come back.
He looked at Elise, and there wasn't a single bit of sincerity in his voice. Elise didn't know what to do. Even Mary was stunned. She had never thought that the day would come when Jerome would come personally to invite Elise to work. But their attitude earlier was simply too infuriating.
You don't seem to get it.
Elise didn't know how to respond, so John spoke up for her.
I will remind you one last time. When you ask for a favor, you have to be humble. If your attitude isn't good enough today and you have to come back tomorrow, my conditions won't remain the same.
Jerome's expression finally changed. His eyelid twitched as he looked coldly at John.
You think we can't get this project signed without Elise?
If you don't believe me, go ahead and try.
John was as calm as before. So calm that Mary and Elise were stunned as they watched him. Was this really the homeless son-in-law that just married into the family?
Elise, my dad is giving you a chance, you'd better cherish it.
Troy angrily said. Elise puffed her chest out and said with determination,
I don't care for it.
Very good. Very good.
Jerome said this as he looked at the three people in front of him with a fake smile on his face. He looked towards the inside of the house and shouted,
Bill, you have done a good job as the head of this family.
With that, he snorted and left with Troy. The door of the room only opened at this point. Bill rolled his wheelchair out, his face all pale. He didn't dare to come out as long as Jerome was in the house.
Is my brother angry?
Bill asked timidly.
What are we going to do?
Mary looked at him and was filled with rage. Where was he when his daughter was being bullied? And now even better still. He was asking them what to do.
It's just a job, I don't care for it. I will look for another one.
Elise looked at her parents and continued.
Dad, Mom, don't worry, I can earn enough to take care of you.
Mary looked at her daughter, her heart aching. The responsibility of taking care of the household had fallen on her shoulders. She had to take care of Bill. And even if she wanted to help Elise out, there was nothing much she could do.
There's still me.
John spoke up.
I will take care of both of you too.
Bill and Mary turned to look at John. John had slapped Troy earlier because he had insulted Mary. And Mary had taken note of that. Even though she didn't really like John, she couldn't really say anything now.
I will go cook.
Mary turned and went into the kitchen. Bill didn't know what to say either. So he just went back into his room and closed the door. Elise dragged John back into her room, still stunned by what happened.
What did you just say?
I said, I will take care of Mom and Dad with you.
Elise stared in shock at John. She was still unable to accept John as her husband. She was even thinking when she could make it clear to John that it was impossible for them to be together. it wasn't just John's background. He was older than her by 10 whole years.
You get ready and prepare yourself to sign that contract anytime now.
When she heard John's words, Elise suddenly forgot what she meant to say.
Uncle Jerome will really look for me again?
She was the only one who had followed the project with CEO Hiddleston through. But all the details had already been agreed on, and they were only left with the formality of signing the contract. Anybody could go and get it signed. So it didn't have to be her, right? Besides, Jerome and his son had so many connections in Newark. It was easy for them to find someone to connect them to CEO Hiddleston.
Yup, it has to be you.
John said this very simply. Jerome and his son reached home. Troy immediately smashed the cups on the table.
What the hell is this?
He roared angrily.
Dad, why did you stop me? I am going to kill that lunatic.
He had been slapped twice in a row by John. If word of this got out, how was he going to hold his head high in Newark? Others would laugh at him for actually being hit by a good-for-nothing lunatic.
Don't provoke these mentally ill people. It's not considered a crime even if they commit murder.
He never thought that in choosing the most useless man to be Elise's husband, he had chosen a nut job. He didn't want to provoke such people unless he really had to. But then why was John's gaze so terrifying? Even though he had been in business for so many years, even he felt terror when he saw it. But John was nuts, so it was probably normal for him to feel fearful of John.
Dad, so what do we do now? That slut Elise still wants us to beg her humbly. She can dream on.
He didn't believe they couldn't get this project signed without Elise. Jerome narrowed his eyes, then picked up his phone to make a few phone calls.
I will have to trouble you then. I will treat you to dinner someday.
He found someone who knew CEO Hiddleston to help bridge this connection. All the details of the project were more or less settled, and signing the contract was merely a formality. He didn't believe that CEO Hiddleston was willing to sacrifice so much benefit for a lowly woman.
Relax, CEO Kripke works with Mr. Hiddleston often, so it shouldn't be a problem with his help.
There was a price to pay for using this connection, but it was better than having to beg Elise. Troy was relieved after hearing this.
Dad, once this project is good to go, I want to throw Elise and family out of Newark.
A wicked idea flashed in Troy's eyes.
If she weren't considered like a sister to me, I even wanted to.
Troy, don't go too far. If your grandfather finds out, you are dead meat.
Troy instantly calmed down. He had only thought about it. Elise was pretty, but there wasn't any woman he couldn't have. The both of them were talking when Jerome's phone started ringing. He picked up the phone and saw it was CEO Kripke. Looks like this matter was settled already.
CEO Kripke, how was it? This matter is a piece of cake to you.
Jerome, how are you still so relaxed? You have offended CEO Hiddleston and you sent me to take the brunt of his anger? Now my project with him has fallen through. Bloody hell, you set a trap for me on purpose. I will remember this for life.
After CEO Kripke finished his tirade, he hung up immediately. Jerome froze over. What did that mean? Even CEO Kripke putting in good words for him didn't work? He even ruined CEO Kripke's project? What did CEO Hiddleston mean by all of this?
Dad, what do we do now? Do we really have to beg Elise?
This marks the end of Chapter 6. I hope you guys are enjoying my work. If you do, please subscribe to my channel and comment for any suggestions or any other novel you all want to be featured here.